booties for black girl nerds.
Thank you, Lance, for your time. Good to speak with
absolutely.
you. That's awesome. The dysfunction of high performing families. We have this family who is outrageously intelligent, technical, scientific, with two young girls, but sometimes you need a little warm and fuzzy in the household, and it's just not there. Why have a family like ours if he can't fully devote the time need to nurture these intelligent young ladies that he has under his roof?
That's a tough question to answer, because part of the motivation is a plot spoiler. Mm-hmm. So, wow, that's tough. That's tough. So I feel like it's rather than trying to answer why he had.
I'm glad you reacted that way.
I'm sorry. Say again.
I'm glad you responded that way, because that is the conundrum of a series like this.
Yes,
talking about it, but not.
But I will say this: once he has his daughters, and he's you come in when he's kind of in the middle of it's at the top of the seventh inning in terms of his raising them. And so what I will say is that for whatever reasons he had for having them, by the time we meet him, we realize is that he loves them, and he has a particular not only devotion to them but loyalty to them. And that what's so interesting for me and quite frankly exciting about playing the role of father in this is that he's constantly has to come to terms with his responsibility to the corporation and how that's at cross purposes with his responsibility as a father. And he's constantly has to choose what's most important to him.
Absolutely. What I've enjoyed about the series is, although it's rooted and it's tethered to the franchise that fans have come to know and love, it really is its own story and its own universe. What are 3 pros to being able to craft your own version or your own corner of the Resident Evil franchise?
Well, as an actor playing this character, which is such an iconic character from the games, the one pro, at least for that, is that, and for me in particular, because I didn't realize that it was even a video game franchise. When it first came to me, I heard Resident Evil, and I immediately thought of the films, most of which I'd seen. So for me, because my commitment was for the most part to bringing to life what was on the page, as opposed to trying to be the guy in the games, it afforded me a freedom to just focus on that. And then in terms of story, because even though the story is based on what's in the games, it's the backdrop of the story for the series is the world of the games. Because you're coming into it fresh, I feel that fans who haven't played the games don't need the games in order to completely enjoy the series and get caught up. Because at the end of the day, what's happening is the discovery of who the people are and why they're doing what they're doing is part of the journey of the story.
Absolutely. Are you ready for, you already have fans from lots of different wonderful things you performed in your career, but game fandom is a whole nother thing, and the Comic Cons and all these conventions. Are you looking forward to having now a new reason for new fans to enjoy your work separate from all the other marvelous things that we know you for?
Well, it's interesting because I've done so much in the gaming space over the last 10 years, particularly the last 5 or 6 years, that it's become an incredible revelation to me how the gaming fans, particularly the first game that I really voiced was Destiny, and it's a huge franchise. And no matter what I do, no matter what role I'm playing, they refer to me as Zavala, which is the character that I play. Yeah. And so this is, being Albert Wesker is this whole other daunting thing that's really going to be interesting to see how fans respond.
It's going to be awesome. You are, if they could put a picture next to Good in every hood, it would be you. Because you've been so great in so many genres.
Oh, thank you.
For real. So I thank you for your time. And I love the series. It was very entertaining, and I appreciate you talking to us.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Take care. Ella, you are a very talented and acrobatic, rumbling, wrestling person in this movie that runs a lot.
Thank you.
I have to ask you, I know you've probably been asked a lot of times, but what was your training regimen? Because like the game, you are running a lot in this movie full on. So what did the training look like before this even got started?
So I was already in quite a fit athletic space. I think the year that we'd had prior, sort of hyper fixated in working out. It's a big passion of mine. However, coming into this show, the trickiest thing was actually unlearning all of the intense weapons training that I'd had from roles that I'd done previously, because we wanted Jade Wesker, which is the character I play, to feel like she was constantly in danger, and if she's not a trained operative or anything. So we wanted to make sure that the audiences were really on the edge of their seats in every sequence that you watch.
I was just so impressed by that. I just kept looking at that like, God, I need to get a treadmill or something's gotta change in this household. But Jade is an awesome character, and we have the good fortune of seeing her 2 stages in the period that shaped her and the results of those traumas and experiences that have shaped the version of her that we meet with you. At the stage that we meet her, would you say that these traumas that are explained early in different parts of the show, or have they manifested themselves fully? Where is she at in her relationship with her childhood when we meet the adult version?
I think we meet her quite literally on the precipice of her being confronted with those traumas from the past. I think a really interesting aspect, which kind of makes this show so unique, is that family aspect that you don't usually get with Resident Evil. And all of the in the past, in 2022, young Jade is played by Tamara Smart. She does an amazing job of this fiery, hot-headed, very impulsive, almost self-sufficient, but will go to the end of the world for her sister, young woman who, without giving any spoilers away, makes a very big mistake, the responsibility and guilt that she carries with her for the rest of her life up until 14 years later in 2036. She's still trying to undo those mistakes. She's still, she has a family, she's married and she has a child, but she's been away from them for 6 months. And in this exact moment that we meet her, I'm like, again, trying not to speak with any spoilers, she is quite literally smacked in the face with a sudden truth that she then has to deal with. And even that as a concept is so exciting to watch, especially.
It is, because that is a missing aspect. Usually when we get a character like a Jade, they're at their lone wolf, or everyone in their platoon's been killed, and that's why it's them against the world.
Yeah,
there's nothing to tether them to any type of life. So why do you think this makes her the most unique type of heroine, wherever you lie within the gray type of character?
Because you want, with these kind of characters, you always want to love them, you want to support them in every decision they make, you want to make, you always want to be their champion. And I think with Jade, because she does, like you say, have something to lose, and she does have something, she has a family to go home to, she makes decisions split in the moment that might not be the best decision at the time, that might actually appear quite selfish, which I think sets her apart from other heroines that you see, because you want to love her, but at times you also hate her. And as an actor, that was really exciting to explore and sort of find those dichotomies of things that had affected her in the past, things that are affecting her now, and again, this responsibility and guilt that she's carrying of getting home to her family.
Absolutely. And lastly, how many versions of the green jumpsuit do you have? Is there one for the whole shoot, and the dirtier, the better? Or do you have like 100 of them?
I love that the fact that you think it's green just goes to show how dirty it got. It actually starts off as red. So I think that was always so funny. We'd walk onto set each day, see where we were in the story, and we'd go into the costume trailer. There'd be about 30 odd costumes from a scale of 0 to absolute full send, and we'd sort of determine how far in the messed up region we were for that day. And the last costume, let me tell you, was very crunchy by the end of the job.
Like yeah, okay.
Yeah, that one was
super dirty. Well, I thank you. I enjoyed your performance in the show. I was a big fan of the video game, and I love all of the offshoot films that further dive into the characters. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you so much. Such a pleasure.
Take care. Thank you guys for your time. And I had so much fun watching you guys kind of set the pace for everyone else by playing the younger version. So I enjoyed that. Thank you. Siena, beginning with you, when you're playing the younger version of a character, who gets the film first? Who's the younger character, the older character? Do you get to watch each other to kind of bridge that gap between each other and the consistency of character? How does that work on a project like this?
I think Billie differs a bit from Jade just in the series, as I got to, I think, play around with the character a little more before I met Adeline. So I got to establish a few quirks, which was really nice and a little bit of pressure, but also just so much fun to just play around with this whole, new world and new character. But we did get to meet, and we watched each other in table reads, which was huge. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Tamara, for you, these types of film come with a built-in fandom as it originates from a video game, but now you get to invite a whole new fandom followed you from other things in your career. Does it make you gravitate to playing the game, or how do you want to engage with the fandom of Resident Evil and ultimately of the series?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, I definitely wouldn't consider myself a gamer. It's not massively my thing. I do have a PS4, but I don't play on it. So, but yeah, it does make me want to play the games. I think that our show is so cool and so fun. So I can only imagine what the games are like. I've played it a little bit, but not enough to kind of grasp the kind of idea of it. But I would love to play the games. And I also did try and play them on virtual reality. That was just a bit too sensory for me.
Connor, if you had to guess right now, since Tamara's not playing the games on the PS4, what do you think she's using the PS4 for?
Well, actually, Tam and I have gamed a couple of times ourselves over the years. Just like, online games and stuff. Like we just used to hop on and
okay.
Yeah. Back in the day, it was like a year ago.
It was like 3 months ago.
Yeah, no, we hop on every now and then and just play some online stuff. But I think that's the extent of what you're using it for. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I like your character, Connor. It makes me think of teen-aged people now and just how highly evolved when it comes in the space of just internet and coding and just all these things compared to when I was that age 100 years ago. Mm-hmm. How much interest do you have in that outside of this project of just that whole tech world that made this part even more appealing to you?
It was definitely something that, you're right in saying our generation, as we progress, we are getting more tech savvy, but hacking or anything along the lines of that, it's something that I had not been involved with. So I did a lot of my own research onto it, and it was so fascinating to see, and actually like crazy, like how easy, well, not easy, but like how many people are doing it and how, I guess, accessible it is to be able to do those things. So it was certainly exciting to be a part of that, something that I hadn't done before. Yeah.
You guys get to do so many cool things in addition to just the great character work, stunt work, tech work. There's so many components that go into all of your characters. Siena, back over to you. What is the art of wrestling with an animal that's not really an animal? Because we're going to see your character have to mix it up in a little physical activity. So how do you wrestle with what we're seeing as a dog? But what are you seeing when you have to do a scene like that? Is it somebody in a dog suit? What is going on?
I did actually think it was gonna be someone in a dog suit. It was someone in a green suit, and his name was Gary. And the poor thing, like we couldn't see his face, so he'd only give us like thumbs up or thumbs down if he was doing it right. But no, it was just filming that scene. There was no blood or anything. It was all entirely visual effects and CGI. Just a guy pulling. And, in between takes, they would even come over and be like, and give him notes on how to be more animal-like. But it was interesting to actually see what it was behind scenes.
Yeah.
And Tamara, for you, and that is my time. They are telling me to wrap. Thank you guys. I enjoyed all of you in this series. It was super fun, and have a great premiere. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Hi.
Thank you. Hi, ladies.
How are you?
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Did you guys coordinate your outfits? You
We
guys
did
are good.
not.
We did
No, we
not.
should just say yes at this point.
Right. Thought
Yes,
about
we did.
everything. We think about everything.
Brilliant minds, brilliant minds. Well, I thank you both, and both of your characters have brilliant minds in this series. Beginning with you, Adeline, for Billie, we have this opportunity to dig deeper into different characters and be in a more character-driven story than a game-driven story. So what are 3 pros to being able to build out further and kind of mark your own place in the Resident Evil universe?
I mean, I think firstly, it's kind of also an honor just to have like the Wesker name attached to Billie. So there is a sentiment of like something that really ties us to the original franchise, which is amazing. And then of course, Albert Wesker himself, Lance Reddick. I think what was very cool for me is, okay, we have this kind of pre-existing world, pre-existing character, and how do we take from that and now create something different as well. For me, it was just cool kind of having a younger storyline. So having 14 years apart, I really got to follow young Billie's story to then incorporate into what she becomes in the future. 3 specific points. I think just having like the original world, having, of course, the storyline through young Billie, and then also just having the fun of kind of understanding how does that pain then translate in the future for myself through Billie. Those are like the 3 things that were a real blessing.
It is, and it really is a transition. Maybe there's future video games that are going to come and echo this and build out to.
Fingers crossed.
We're manifestors in this household.
Yes,
We're
we are.
manifestors.
I want
How-
I
for
want
that, see?
Evelyn for a video game. I want Evelyn to be in a video game.
Exactly. Then you guys have to play it and Twitch it and do the conventions and do the whole 9. And that'd be super dope because we love strong woman characters. Oh, over to you for Evelyn. I thought about just great bosses. We love strong women bosses, but I thought about great bosses in general and what she has in common with some of those great movie and film bosses in terms of, even though there's the strength, but there's a little bit of underlying humor and a little like all these interesting nuances to her bossdom. When you think of bosses you've enjoyed in projects, what do you think Evelyn has in common with those?
I remember I saw a bunch of those before when I was thinking about Evelyn. Like I thought also like actresses like that have played like bosses or like powerful, badass, in control, in power women, but also men that I admire or villains that I admire. And for me, it was really important not to make, and the humor was really important to me because I think that's even more scary sometimes, when or when someone says something that is a threat, but in a really like you have to like soft way of saying and threatening you, and maybe with a little smile, a little bit of humor, sarcastic. And I like those characters, and I always thought like Evelyn should have that because that scares me more than like those villains that are like more like I don't know, the usual villain that you are more used to seeing. But I think that was the reason I discovered, and I thought that she should be really sarcastic, and the way that she delivers the lines, and also she has a lot of power, so she doesn't have to be like that. The way that she delivers, she already has the power. So the way that she speaks to Wesker, she can be soft with him and the way she speaks, because she knows she's in control, and she has, and she's always manipulating him, and she has so much information about him that she can use against him, that's all she needs.
Yeah, it was giving me a little bit the flyness of Devil Wears Prada Boss with Meryl Streep, but the comedy of either like Dr. Evil from Austin Powers, or I can't remember what the bad guy's name was from The Fifth Element. It made me think of all those three antagonists at the same time. And that's my cue. Okay, thank you, ladies. You guys are awesome. I really enjoyed you in this series, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having us.
Take care.
Better shake your booties for black girl nerds. Better shake your booties for black girl nerds.